The world is a huge place and has a lot of places which a person can discover. Transportation between two places is important and can be done by using public transport, cars, or airplanes. On the other hand, the kind of your passport matters since there is still boundaries that exist between countries depending on a piece of paper. Funny, right? I am lucky and live now in Germany, a European country that allows me to visit other countries in the EU without a visa. In Europe, there is a ticket called Eurorail or Interrail, which allows public transport. Depending on the kind of the ticket, one gets specific amount of days in which the public train can be used. I luckily got my Interrail ticket through a sponsorship offered by a non-profit organization called Schwarzkopf Stiftung. By the way, this has nothing to do with the hair care brand Schwarzkopf. This ticket was valid for 1 month and I was able to use it every day. During my trip, my goal was to compare the queer communities in countries I was planning to visit with each other. For example, I compared the current social and political situation and challenges towards queer people. I additionally wanted to know if queer people in the EU are facing same realities or not. Other than that, I wanted to know how aware queer people about their own minorities are. Those are, for example, trans people, queers with disabilities, black, indigenous, and people of color. During my trip, I needed accommodation. For this, I used a platform called Couchsurfing. There, I could find very lovely people which hosted me and lived in the city I was visiting. By using this opportunity, I was able to get valuable pointers about nice hidden places in the city I was visiting. I additionally could save a bit of accommodation costs. However, sometimes one can face people which gives them bad feeling and insecurity. Therefore, using this platform needs a lot of effort since you need to read the description of your future hosts and see if they match with you, and you have to convince them that you want to spend time with them. My journey started from Cologne, Germany. I took the train to Bremen, and from there I took Flixbus to Amsterdam, since the railway was not great between Bremen and Amsterdam. Amsterdam, the city is amazing. My host was very welcoming and tried to help me a lot. He even let me borrow his bike. It was big, but I managed to cycle with it around the city. Amsterdam has very bike-friendly roads. I was almost very scared of the bikers since my bike was too big for me. I could go around the city and discover many places. The library is amazing there. The unique city architecture is very fascinating. I attended a party with Amapiano music. This was in a church which was refunctioned so people of the city can use it again. I tried to find queer people to interview, and my strategy was to find queer organizations which I could interview. I met a person from a very known queer NGO, non-profit organization. This person helped me a lot and gave me a guide to find queer organizations over EU and the world. I visited the university and met Tessel from ISV Gay. Tessel agreed to take part in the interview I was planning. This was my first time doing something like that. Therefore, I did not have the required equipment, but I improvised something. Sadly, the sound of some interviews is not good. I tried my best. Next time, this would be different. In Brussels, I spent 2 nights. The city was very historical and giving the vibe of a kingdom. My host's house was in the middle of the city. He was very kind and guest friendly, but there was a moment where I did not feel comfortable because of his behavior. I, of course, told him about that and he apologized. I visited a street full of queer bars. There I met Joel in a party, and later I met Joe and Zach from the US. They were happy to take part in my interview. Later I took the train to Paris, and it was very fluid, which I was not expecting. As I arrived in Paris, I was shocked about how big the city was, and I even could not see the whole of it. I booked a bike since I was inspired by the people in Amsterdam, which were cycling everywhere. I stayed near Paris, north, and my host was very helpful and cool. I visited a couple of museums, and this was amazing. Did you know that in the EU, living people can visit the museums in Paris for free if they are under the age of 26? That's really nice. I visited La Louvre and took a picture with Mona Lisa, of course. Very cliche, don't you think? I visited Disneyland as well, and this was cool, but not as exciting as I expected. I expected more adrenaline inducing roller coasters. This sadly was not the case there, but I enjoyed it after all. In the third and last night, I interviewed two groups of queer people and could gain information about the queer scene in Paris. Sadly, with Interrail, it is not possible to use public transport within the city, so therefore I either booked a bike or took the metro, and if the distance was not too long, I walked over. This journey taught me a lot of hacks about traveling with a small backpack and how to move around the city. I gained knowledge about backpack storage, tricks, and other helpful things. Since I was alone and wanted to take pictures of the moments I was enjoying, I had to ask random strangers to take pictures of me. This was new and for me, and especially being photographed alone by strangers. But I managed that and realized that this is an essential part of traveling alone. There was no direct possibility to travel from Paris to Madrid by train, so therefore I decided to take Flixbus again. That took me almost 16 hours. As I was in Madrid, I was very tired, so I enjoyed a day off from traveling around and rest at my host's place. With my host, I enjoyed the time. He showed me a few nice places and was very friendly. We played board games and he introduced me to his friends. This was spectacular. Madrid was huge, but not that crowded with people. I enjoyed being there. The rent bikes were very cheap and handy since they were electrical, and Madrid is very hilly. I visited the week market called Bazaar. This was very cool. In the city was the presence of queer people very noticeable, and I loved that. I visited the Royal Garden, which is called Parque de El Retiro. Park was insane and huge. I jogged there and could discover the places and do something good for my body, and I did that often in cities that I was visiting. In Madrid, I found a foundation that works with elderly queer people and could interview the volunteers, Fernando, Arturo, and Juan Carlos. I could spend a bit of time with them, and they group in a bar where people played bingo. A few days later, I left Madrid and drove to Barcelona by train. I was very close to missing my train, but luckily have got my train in the last minute. In Spain, the railway system is very different from other countries I was in. There, I had to check my bag with a scanner, like in the airport, and later people had to line up in front of the train gate and could only go through after the train had arrived and their tickets were checked. This is really different. By the way, for internet ticket, I had to do a seat reservation in Spain. A lot of countries that are part of this program require a seat reservation, but not every country. For example, in Germany, Belgium, and Netherlands, I could use the train without seat reservation. In Barcelona, I did not have a host for the first night. Therefore, I went to a hotel in a neighboring town called Paella. The day after, I went to the city and explored it till my host was back from his job. Barcelona has very cool historical architecture. I went to the historical university library. Libraries always helped me to organize my trip and recharge my phone and my energy. I tried churros from a very old shop, very yummy. My host lived next to Sagrada Familia, a very beautiful church. I saw it in the first night in Barcelona. A day later, I discovered the city and went to a queer street where I met Ulrich, visiting from Denmark, and later I met Kelvin and Muri. They all agreed to join my project and I could interview them. I actually planned from the beginning to travel and study for my upcoming exam in September, but it didn't work. In Barcelona, I realized that I was not able to combine studying and traveling with each other, especially when the weather and the surroundings are nice. You do not want to stay in the library and study, obviously. That's why I decided to stop my journey in Barcelona and go back to Cologne to study for my exam. I originally planned to travel from Barcelona to Marseille in France, then Monaco, and then Genoa, Pisa, and Rome in Italy, but it didn't work out. After my exam, I went to Berlin with my Interrail ticket, and this was my last trip with this ticket. Now you will see the interviews that I took during my journey. Sadly, I had to shorten the videos so you can get a conclusion of everything. As I said in the beginning, I tried to compare the queer communities in different European countries that I visited. Here you will get some subjective opinion from the people who participated in my project. Enjoy. How would you describe the current situation of the queer community in your country?
It depends on where you are in the Netherlands. Amsterdam is relatively safe than for the queer community, or it has more spaces.
I think there's not so many places where you can feel safe. There's some few, we all know them, but yeah, I think we need more of that kind of parties.
It has gotten better, and I hope, but it's still not where it needs to be. So we need to keep on going. We need to keep on going.
Every city has different levels of acceptance, so bigger cities are more accepting, but yeah, I mean, it seems to have been progressing backwards in a lot of states, depending on where you're at. Texas, for example, is more problematic, but I think you know, places like New York or San Francisco, you know, like there's more accepting cities that offer it easier to be queer. This year there was a book about trans people. It was really transphobic. It made us realize that the trans subject is still not recognized. Yeah, it's not recognized, and we have to make some strike, try to change the law, but it didn't work. To be honest, the law is here, and it's really a threat to trans people. Like there is events everywhere.
It's open compared to other countries.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, the political situation is kind of weird right now because as everywhere in Europe, there's like a rise of hair right parties, but we don't really feel it in Paris.
No. The queer community here in Madrid, it's more open than, like, example, in Mexico. We have a quite high status regarding the law, but on the other side of the balance, we have a lot of political movement against all the advances in the law that we have having in this last year.
I mean,
People that want to go back and take our rights away.
We have an excellent government for gay rights. And the only thing is that obviously the right wing is always trying to change things, to put us under scrutiny, to forbid certain things because they think that we're too promiscuous and that we are a disease, when in reality we are just human beings that want to live and enjoy ourselves like everybody else. We pay taxes, we have families.
That several smaller communities have arisen in like the provinces. So there's not only a fight in Copenhagen now, there are smaller cities are also having their own prides. So it's more, I would say it's more accepted.
In my country, we don't even get to get married. We don't have that right. And here, you can have it. Here, you can feel more peaceful, more free, more happy.
It's more open.
Yeah.
It's more open. It's more European. The whole country.
How visible and accepted is the queer community in everyday life?
You have a lot of bars, although they have been disappearing a bit. You have the reguliere Schwarzkopf. That's very corporate and capitalistic, and the owners of the bars are very white males.
See, with the new generation, and also I think with the more visibility we have with the social media, I think it's more and more open. In Paris in general, there is, I think, no problem at being queer, even if we are sometimes threatened and sometimes difficult to hold hands with our partner. In Paris, you're pretty safe, like kind of everywhere, more or less. But in France, in small villages or towns, it's kind of different. But
Walking around in the city center and be quite free. But I think the situation in the outskirts, in the suburbia, is not that easy.
There's still hate crimes. I think it's more towards transgender people and very people who may look a little feminine.
We are in one of those.
Yeah.
Super
And it's very encouraging because now the community queer is in one position because opening and the mind more feeling.
What has your experience been like living as a queer person in your country?
And we walked around in a park in Utrecht, hand in hand, and then we were like harassed for half an hour for just walking there. And they were like, "Oh, are you a lesbian? That's not how the nature works," and this stuff.
Always feeling that misunderstood ever since I was a kid. That's always and being bullied as a kid. So growing up wasn't as easy, but it definitely got a lot better when I started to say, I don't really care what you think about me, and enjoying who I am and knowing that I'm a great person. I have a great heart. So that's what really matters to me, and not like who I'm dating. It's rather about like who you are as a person.
Is more fulfilling as a queer person than maybe as someone that isn't queer. You know, like being polyamorous and expanding love. And I think you just get to see the world in a much broader perspective, and that makes you easier to connect with.
I'm lucky with this. I didn't have any fights and
Okay.
personally.
I had few episodes in the subway. I mean, it happened to me, but
Was it related
to
your orientation?
no, I mean, it was at the time because we were two girls and there was like people looking at us and being like, "Hey, make out, please, please make out." I mean, it seemed like crazy people that could have done that with a straight couple.
The way that the people like example in the foundation 20 de diciembre, they take care of you and they respect you. The jokes that you can make about that you know that it's not an offensive words. It's so funny.
We were in the parade with the foundation, and it was quite amazing seeing people clapping their hands when we were passing by, because they acknowledge the importance of working with our older people.
The police stopped me with a violent way, and then make me feel really bad, telling me maricon. The great thing about that was that the neighbors protect me, and a lot of people from the balconies start to shout to the police, and the people that was on the streets was stopping the police.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spain allows me to be myself, to enjoy myself, and to have the freedom that I want. I don't feel oppressed. I never been pointed at.
I sometimes went with my friends with drag queens and I dressed up too, and there was a guy yelling something at me, like, "Oh, you disgusting fag," and I just like yelled back, "Oh, your mother," like, and he came over and he actually hit me in my head. But then he went in and hid in a gay bar, and there was a police car nearby, so I went full drag and knocked on the car and said, like, wouldn't stop until they got out of the car and got him out of the bar actually, and he then forced him to give me an apology.
So it is tough. It is hard. I wish that the new generations doesn't have to go through what I've been go through or others. But I think it's also really that gives you strength to pursue your dreams, to work hard, to believe in yourself. And being queer has challenges.
Every day is
What changes would you like to see for the queer community in your country?
Trans movement coming up now. It's very inspiring. I also identify as non-binary, so it helped me a lot that you can be something else than the binary that there is, and you can switch around in that, and that is okay. The government here that got elected is very right-wing. I'm a bit scared what that will mean, especially for like trans care, because trans care in the Netherlands is not very good.
We will need the support of like the police and all the security, because sometimes when something happens, we try to ask for help and they don't do anything. So we don't feel safe with that.
LGBTQ, AI plus kind of people. I want to see more of that, not just solely on gay guys. I think it's a really eclectic, diverse community.
Now we're really facing a lot of struggles with like trans laws, and just like they're really drilling hard on trying to take away a lot from our community. So it'd be nice to see that shift the other way, because it's not, it just feels like we're just going backwards really quickly.
Like trans rights, I think that there is it's really a challenge. Yes. And this is the main point. And non-binary people.
Yeah.
They are not recognized. It's an issue. And intersex. Gender should be just fluid and not binary. And that's something people in France are big to accept. Yeah.
We want to see men with skirts in France.
Sometimes there's like the lesbians and the gays, and I would love to have a community that is more equal and more cohesion.
Everything. What I would wish to change is people's mind. To have a really the respect of. Sometimes the same queer people shade to the same community, and sometimes we are violent with the others. Yeah, so maybe that thing.
Equality and the same rights as straight people do. There is still an issue with two men wanting to adopt a child, and it's still very, very difficult for them. We need also companies not to like pink wash during Pride Week. Well, what is support one day a year when they walk in a Pride? When it's mostly publicity for them, or a chance to show, oh, we're so good. Like, can show me like some is talk and some is action. So like act and don't talk. But I would like to see more selfless acts in the community.
It's taking time for people to finally realize that we are normal people and we are here and we are not going anywhere. But I would like to open the hands of everybody and say like, fuck it, understand it.
How does the queer scene here compare to other European countries?
With the Netherlands also being the first country to legalize gay marriage.
Yeah,
in the world.
No way.
No.
No.
Here, it's a thing that's also been around very long. There's this saying in the Netherlands, and it's al doe maar gewoon, dan doe je al gek genoeg. So it means act normal, then you're crazy enough. That's a very underlying theme in the whole queer thing in the Netherlands, because people are like, oh, you can be gay, but don't make it too much. There's this very double standard maybe in the Netherlands of like acceptance, but also like a kind of like, oh, that's weird.
I think we are quite behind. Because we've been to Berlin and we've been to Paris and it's not the same. And in London, like Brussels for me, we need to step up our game. In Brussels, three communities. We have the Flemish, the German and French community.
Yeah.
So it's a mess.
Yeah.
Politically, it's a mess.
2 years ago, we gained the right to have babies in a lesbian couple. If you are going to adopt a child, it's going to be more difficult if you're a lesbian couple or a gay couple. Or a gay couple. It's difficult for an heterosexual couple, so for lesbian or gay. Yeah, but it's possible.
In our free time, it is different because here in Spain we like a lot to be outside, to be on bus, to be in terrace, to meet people. Maybe in other countries it's different, but I think that the situation, at least across Europe, or West Europe at least, should be more or less the same.
They have a lot of reference that are making a lot of sound, and they are making a lot of identity from the queer people in Spain.
I don't know if it is better, but it is getting bigger and bigger.
Spain is the safest place to be in Europe if you happen to be gay, if you happen to be a homosexual. I think our rights here are very much respected. It's a very free nation. Some politicians that want to change that. Why? Because of their own benefit. Particularly now, and it's concerning, and I have to say this recently, that the right wing party won in certain parts of Germany. And this is concerning, very much so, because after the history of Germany in the past, I hope that this doesn't spread more and it causes a problem for Germany and for the rest of Europe, because Germany is one of the most important countries in Europe.
Our legal system is a bit more equipped to deal with hate crimes now, and it's being taken more serious.
How aware is the queer community of the unique challenges faced by marginalized individuals, for example, BIPOCs?
It's a community, so you want people from those groups also to step up themselves, and that's also a thing they need to do, and which costs a lot of energy for them, so you have to be aware of that too. You just have to be aware of your privilege, which you have, and try to not take up all the space, but maybe create some space for someone else.
In Brussels, because it's the center of the Euro, it's quite very multicultural. So that is very good. We have so much community. We are open to all of that kind. But if you go in other areas of Belgium, it's completely different. You go to south or to north, they are not like that open to diversity.
That they are aware. I think sometimes they choose not to listen or hear or see these issues because these are part of your community. So there's no LGBT without the T. So I think that's a bigger issue than people realize, and I think that we need to step up because these people, their rights are being taken away. Like left.
They don't care. They have their privileges, and they're like, okay, we're good, so I don't care about the rest. The goal is to care, but sometimes think about themselves or selfish.
I think so. Yeah.
I think at least our generation, I can speak for Gen Z, we're all from Gen Z. Our generation is really supportive of this kind of matters and more aware maybe than the previous generations. Also like feminism and all the kind of matters of our societies. We are like intersectional and we are for all the matters they compare to maybe older generations.
And you have like few safe places, and there are people that are well aware of that, but maybe there are some other people within the queer community, and I would say especially gay white men. Yeah, there is a part within the community that were aware at all about some other people that suffer from discrimination, on top of being discriminated for being queer.
Yeah. It's so important that the queer people remember always that we are part of a minority in the global. If we can remember always this part, we can't stop to think and understand to the other discriminatory sectors.
Not very well. A minority also bullying within the minority. I don't get it. There is still a lot of sexism transphobia. The structure of the bar, I mean, the decoration of the bar is not fit for people with disabilities. We could do better. We could be more united. We could also be more inclusive for people, yeah, with disabilities.
Everybody's minding her own business, and it's hard because it's like you make groups. So the black fans is here, the gay cis man is here.
Any last words?
Listen to each other. Be thankful for what you have, and some people maybe have less. But if you are in a position of privilege, which I am, I think, be aware of that and use it to help other people.
Continue to express yourself, fight for your rights, and do you guys.
Don't care what people think about you. You're okay. Be gay.
We just got to keep doing what we're doing and educate ourselves, but also find community. I think that's how we persevere through all of this, is banding together and understanding, having a sense of compassion. That will take us a lot farther as a community than ignorance and hiding or being scared.
Queer people are amazing. We love you. Protect trans kids.
Yes.
Fight for your rights, and don't forget that together we are stronger.
Enjoy the way you are and be always you, and really be happy and fight to be whatever you are.
It's important that young people, the young generation, understand and value the thing that we elderly people have to go through to get to where we are today. For 55 years, I've been going to the Gay March every year because I know that it's important to contribute. And I hope that young people today and the people that will come in the future, that they will appreciate and learn what we contribute to make life more easy and peaceful for our community.
Don't punch down, and we have, as a minority, to stand together. There's still a lot of improvements to be done. So be less selfish and more inclusive.
We have everything that you need for you.
What you want, work hard, and don't give a shit about anybody else, about you, and what you want to do.
After finishing the interviews, I realized that the queer communities in European countries which I visited has a lot in common. They all enjoy the high visibility and acceptance, such as queer bars, places, and accepting families in big cities. And they face more challenges in smaller cities and in the suburbs. Queer communities in the different countries are being targeted by politicians, and it seems that the right wing movement is rising in those countries, which is not very accepting of queer people. Even though the queer people have often experienced the feeling of being a minority, the queer community seems to not be aware of their own minorities, such as trans people, queers with disabilities, and queer BIPOCs, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. These challenges and mindset seem to be present in the European countries I visited and in the US too. I can also say this applies to Germany as well. My interviews are not representative, but it helps to let you gain an insight about the queer communities in some European countries. So maybe this should be examined in more than 4 countries and with more participants, obviously. How is this actually in East Europe or in other continents or in other countries? Are the queer communities there facing other challenges, or do they have better rights? Thank you.